In the world, there is only one structure that has lasted for 4,500 years. No iron, no steel, no cranes. And yet they built the Great Pyramid of Giza to 140 meters high, weighing 6 million tons. The question is, where did they get the stones when the desert was full of sand and wind? How did they cut stones as hard as iron with copper and bare hands? And most importantly, who came up with the idea of lifting blocks of stone weighing tens of tons into the sky? For thousands of years, people have found all kinds of reasons. Gods, miracles, even aliens. But tonight, we will not talk about miracles. We will talk about the miracles coming from human hands. Part 1. Mysterious quarries and the journey across the Nile. Imagine standing in front of a giant block of stone, twice the size of a car, weighing tens of tons, cold as metal, and so hard that nothing can cut through it with bare hands. That is granite, a type of stone used by the ancient Egyptians to build burial chambers inside the pyramids and giant statues that have defied time. Granite is not like soft limestone. It is an igneous rock, crystallized deep in the earth. It is 5 times harder than modern concrete. Yet more than 4,000 years ago, the Egyptians knew how to cut, shape, and move these granite blocks from the quarries of Aswan, nearly 800 kilometers south of Giza. As the sun sets, imagine a group of more than 1,000 men, tanned, muscular men, wielding copper axes, hemp ropes, and bare feet stepping on hot stone. They chisel the stone not with machines, but with harder stones, quartz, to create grooves that wear over time, one by one, day by day, like embroidery on the stone. Each block of stone can take weeks, sometimes months, to be removed. And then, the great journey begins. The Egyptians did not drag the stone across the desert. They waited for the flood season, when the Nile River rose, and ingeniously built canals, wooden piers, and rammed earth slides to move the stone from the quarry to the boat. But how could a stone weighing tens of tons be transported in a wooden boat? They built giant boats up to 30 meters long, with a hull made of cedar imported from Lebanon, with a wide and flat floor. The stone was placed in the middle of the boat, tied tightly with large hemp ropes. The boat could carry one stone at a time, and needed about 50 to 80 people to row along the Nile. The entire journey from Aswan to Giza lasted for weeks, even months. They followed the water, slept on the boat, ate dry bread, drank light sour beer, and lit oil lamps at night. Under the moonlight, the boat with the large black stone in the middle looked like a holy procession, quietly passing through history. And when the boat reached Giza, it was not the end, but only the beginning of a more fierce journey, lifting the stone hundreds of meters high, stacking it without glue, using only faith, precision, and a little mystery that still makes humanity restless today. Part 2. How did they get the stone to the top of the sky? Just imagine, a stone block weighing tons, bigger than a buffalo, had to be lifted nearly 140 meters high, without a crane, without wheels, and without steel or cement. So, how? Did they use a kilometer-long incline? Or maybe each stone was pulled by a wooden pulley, and hundreds of people shouting in the sun? Some theories suggest that they built a spiral around the pyramid, gradually pulling it up as they built. Others say they used ancient hydraulic lifts, although no one has ever found real evidence. But the truth may be both simple and beyond our imagination. If you want to explore every detail, every technical hypothesis, along with 3D models and physical explanations, check out the video I made specifically for this topic. The detailed link is right below the description. A quiet night, a great question, and who knows? You might be the one who dreams of the answer. Part 3. The unimaginable tools of the Egyptians. Close your eyes and imagine yourself standing in a hot, sunny quarry 4,500 years ago. In front of you is a block of deep red granite, taller than a person, heavier than a herd of cows. You don't have an excavator, no electric drill. You only have in your hand a bronze hammer which looks like a pestle as heavy as a can of water, with a handle made of hard wood that has turned brown in the sun. Bronze, which is softer than iron, was still the strongest metal the Egyptians had at that time. And what helped them carve the stone was not metal, but another stone, harder than the dark gray dolerite, heavy, dense, and not fragile at all. They pounded, pounded, and pounded, one stroke at a time, in rhythm, on the same spot for days. Each stroke created a small dent. More dents formed a groove, and gradually the stone cracked. There was no noise from the machine, only the sound of the hammer hitting the stone. Knock, knock, resounding regularly like the heartbeat of a civilization. But pounding on the stone was only the beginning. How did the stone surface become so smooth? How did the blocks fit together so tightly that not a single hair could pass through them? The answer was Nile sand. Nile sand was not like sea sand. It was as fine as dust, mixed with tiny mineral crystals, like millions of microscopic blades waiting to wear down anything. The Egyptians took that sand, mixed it with water, and made a kind of grinding mud. Then they used long wooden sticks, or leather, sometimes coarse woven cloth, to rub back and forth on the stone surface, like a sword sharpener sharpens a blade. No rush, no noise, just time. A block of stone took weeks, even months, to be ground flat as desired. But they were not impatient, because for the Egyptians, everything that lasts forever needed to be created with patience. They did not grind the stone with their bare hands. The Egyptians used hard wooden sticks, about 1.5 meters long, as thick as an adult thigh bone, smoothed and covered with rough cowhide on the contact surface. When it was necessary to smooth large stone surfaces, up to several meters long and shoulder high, they tied animal skins measuring 80 by 120 centimeters, stretched tightly onto a wooden frame like an ancient grinding board. Along with that is Nile sand mixed with water, thick like mud, poured onto the stone surface as a natural polishing layer. On, each large stone block. There will be at least 3 to 4 strong men standing on both sides, pulling, pushing, pulling, pushing, in a rhythm like rowing a boat, the force going from the shoulders to the hands. With larger blocks over 3 meters long, sometimes up to 6 people need to grind at the same time, divided into 2 groups, each group in charge of half the surface, taking turns scrubbing from early morning to late afternoon. No flatness measuring machine, just skilled eyes, calloused hands, and the daylight reflecting on the stone surface. When the stone surface begins to sparkle slightly in the sun, that is a sign that it is smooth enough. But they don't stop there. They wiped off the mud, added new water, added sand, and continued. Some blocks took weeks to complete the cut. Some took half a month just to round the edges. When you look at the Great Pyramid of Giza today, remember, it wasn't technology that built it. It was bronze hammers, dolerite, Nile sand, and the belief that man could reach eternity with his bare hands. Part 4. The silent workers. Who are they? When you stand in the shadow of the Great Pyramid of Giza, what can make you speechless is not the height, but the feeling. Someone placed each of these stones by hand, not gods, not aliens, but real people, flesh and blood, like you and me. They are not engraved in history books. They do not have their own monuments, but they are the ones who made the eternal dream of the pharaohs come true. People used to think that the pyramids were built by slaves, but modern archaeology has overturned that. They discovered, next to the tombs of the pharaohs, there was a small cemetery of the builders. In it, there were bones carefully buried, food placed beside them, and even bronze tools still lying next to the hands of the deceased. Those people buried like relatives, not slaves. But they were skilled craftsmen, working with pride and faith that they were serving something sacred. They lived in villages near the construction site, were fed, and were given medical care when they were injured. The healed fractures tell the story. They worked in shifts, under the desert sun, pushing stones with their hands, lifting blocks with their shoulders, and using their hearts to build what humanity still calls a wonder. Each stone is the fingerprint of dozens of people. Each tower floor is a step of an anonymous team of workers. And when night falls, in the cool breeze from the Nile, they sit around the fire, eat a simple meal, and dream of completion. So the next time you look up at the pyramids, remember them, the silent craftsmen, because wonders do not come from magic. They come from human hands, and the dream of immortality. Eternity is not in stone, but in human memory. As the sun sets behind the desert, the pyramids are dyed a pale orange, as if they were falling asleep. But you know what? What is truly eternal is not the granite, not the height of 140 meters, not the inscriptions carved on the wall. It is the memory. It is the story you just heard. It is the image of people without names, without thrones, but who contributed to building something that the whole world must look up to. The ancient Egyptians believed that only when the name is remembered, the soul lives. That is why they carved names everywhere to fight against the second death, the death of oblivion. And now you are thinking of them. You have just called their names, with imagination, with curiosity, with eyes following each stone they laid. Tonight, if you close your eyes, you can see them. A silent procession of people dragging stones in the desert. A young worker wiping his sweaty brow. A loud shout echoes in the wind. And in the distance, the silhouette of the pyramid, towering, majestic, silent as a promise. Not everything needs miracles. All it takes is people to believe and begin.